is a lot of those old builds leaked, which, God, that's probably an entire video in of itself. And, we actually got a lot to cover here. So, how about we push that off for another time?
Huh. Guess it's about time I did this video then. Okay, so we covered a lot of this in the Johto retrospective, but that's been some time ago, so how about we just recap for those curious. After releasing the critical hit that was Generation 1, GameFreak found themselves in a seriously unenviable position of having made the best-selling game of all time. Now, why would that be a bad thing? Well, put yourself in their shoes. A team of only 10 people had been slaving away at a single project for a total of 8 years. A project that was scrapped, reworked, thrown out, and then taped together with band-aids before it was shipped. They didn't have a ton of money at the time, and Nintendo was breathing down their necks due to the game being so unoptimized that the player couldn't take 2 steps without Baby's first Duplo tower spawning in like a Jehovah's Witness, trying to know if you've heard the good word. That, plus you're sleeping at your desks, eating cheap food, praying to the Poke God that this somehow makes all of its money back so you can tell mom and dad it was all worth it, and then the game pops off. In spite of every drawback, in spite of every issue, it succeeds. There's gotta be a sort of dread to that. I mean, sure, there's gotta be some relief, but you really can't stop with one. This made way too much money to not make a sequel. So, how do you do it all again? Go through all the struggle, all the pain, all the uncertainty. And how do you do it in a quarter of the time? You made the best game ever, and now you have to top it. Ugh. Okay, so where do you start? Well, that part's actually pretty easy. You do what every good sequel does. More Pokemon, more types, more items, more mechanics, more characters, more music, more visuals, more fun. How do you even do more fun?
Did I miss?
Well, if you're Tajiri, you start by adding everything. The first games only featured a specific region of Japan. Well, now we're doing the whole country. We got the modern sectors of Kanto, so how about we add in the ancient architecture of Kansai? And how about the sunny beaches of Kyushu, or the snowy mountains of Hokkaido? And since we stuck to a more temperate climate for the first game, let's get wild for these ones. Let's add a desert, a volcano. Let's add the legendary Mount Fuji and move the Pokemon League up there. Oh, and of course we gotta have all of Kanto's stuff come back since we're doing the whole country now. Professor Oak, Giovanni, Red, let's have them return in brand new roles to add to the story. Let's bring back a bunch of those cut Pokemon from the last beta too. And you know how skateboards and cell phones are so popular right now? Well, of course we gotta add those to our game. Let's add this and that and 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 this and that. And it's too much. Way too much. They're still only working with a Game Boy cartridge at the time, so they could only fit so many things into it, which left the region itself feeling so cramped. They were forced to make the towns practically right next to each other just to save on space. And would you look at poor Kanto? Would you even know that's what you were looking at if I haven't just told you? The game was getting too big for its britches, and after already missing their launch date of a year after the originals, GameFreak knew things needed a change. And change came when Tajiri stepped down, allowing Junichi Masuda to rework the game into something more manageable. He started by scrapping a multitude of large portions from the game, which I'm sure was a really hard decision after so much of it was already shown off at the different Spaceworld events. But after that, Masuda went on a little trip to Kansai. There he hoped to mimic what they did for the Kanto region, by exploring the area and learning everything he could so they could develop a solo region based on it. He learned about the many castles and temples, and the legend of the burned tower that would later appear in the Johto games. He then went straight to his hotel and rang up the team, and from there, they got started on the gold and silver we all know and love. Of course, near the end of development, the team was interviewed about this new version of the game. It was successful, sure, but did it satisfy the team who made it? Well, according to them, no. No, it did not. which led GameFreak to make the famous comment about developing the perfect Pokemon game, and how it foretold how the fans of Gold, Silver, and Crystal would come together to remake it. But what about Tajiri's version of the original Gold and Silver? Did it really need to be cut down so heavily to be released as Masuda's version? Was the game good enough how they made it? Would it still have been successful if the original version had released all those years ago? Would Chubby ever just get on with the point of the video? Maybe. I don't know, let's find out, shall we? A lot of the old demos showed off in the Spaceworld shows had been leaked online, alongside a bunch of the development documents, including some interviews with the developers who worked on these versions. All of that alongside the cutting room floor's entire write-up on all the different demos and released versions, we're actually able to experience the old version of Gold and Silver and really see if it was worth scrapping. Though, I can't exactly play it this way, at least not fully. Not only is this version of the game not translated into a language I can read, but there's a bunch of holes where the developers didn't get to finish a bunch of the game. So there's no way I'm going to be able to fully dive into this game, at least in the state that it's in. So I won't. For today's video, I'll be using two popular ROM hacks to help visualize parts of the video. These ROM hacks are called Super Gold 97 by Level 3 and Gold and Silver Reforged by Rule. Super Gold 97 was a ROM hack developed for the purposes of matching the 2018 to 2020 gigaleak that finally gave our grubby little mitts plenty of information in the actual demos for the Spaceworld Gold beta. This hack was developed to show what a completed version of said beta could look like, and as such it is incredibly accurate to the game that would have been sold. Aside from a few little changes and a fully custom post-game, which, I'm gonna be honest, is pretty cool. Reforged is a rebalancing and remaster of the Level 3 hack. Think of it like Platinum to Renegade Platinum, or better yet, Sacred Gold to Heart Gold. This time even including a silver version with version exclusive Pokémon and Lugia, who is not present at all in the original betas. And funnily enough, neither is the silver lion guy, who I thought was the Lugia before Lugia.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Okay, so both of these hacks are wonderful looks at an unreleased Pokemon game, so I'll link them both in the description. Though, to distinguish between them visually, I'll be playing Super Gold in Game Boy mode, and Reforged in Game Boy Color mode, and with the added female option. Their names are Beta and Alpha, and for obvious reasons, I named our rivals Sigma. Because memes, I guess. Though, if you're curious, in game dev terms, they are typically Alpha, Beta, and Gamma releases. I just did Sigma because it's funny. So, with all that out of the way, let's take a look at the unreleased region of Nihon and see if Tajiri's Gold and Silver could have been released as originally planned. Alright, let's get the big one out of the way. The beta Pokemon. Good lord, from Puppy Wooper to Tiger Spiel, it's so wild to me that so many of these amazing designs just got cut for no reason. Like, a few of these get reworked into the main Johto, like White Espeon and Poison type Umbreon, or you know, something else like Pinsir's evolution becoming Heracross. But then we get the guys who are just completely cut. And man, we don't have time to cover all these guys, but like a lot of them are just so wonderfully interesting and just awesome looking designs. I'm so sad we never got to see official releases for like a Fire Water Seal, a Bellossom like Evo for Weepin' Bell, a Shark with an anchor for a tail, an Ice Werewolf. It's really a shame that a lot of these guys just never got to be official Pokemon. They look so cool. Ah, I love them so much. The stuff around Disturbin is kind of odd though. Like, he is the Pokemon attached to the Slowpoke evolutions, and in this game they entirely separate him from the Shelter stuff. So you'd think he'd be like an Evo for Shelter, but no, he's not. They just said it was Shelter and they turned around and just made it a separate Pokemon anyway, which, yeah, that's not a Shelter. Anyone with eyes can see that's not a Shelter. This one needs to be real more than any of the others, strictly for lore reasons. This and the missing link between Marowak and Kangaskhan. Like, seriously, we all know, okay? It's not a secret anymore, just do it. The gameplay, in general, is very similar to Gold and Silver, except for like a few things, like some items that never made it to the official release, like the status blocking stuff that just blocks sleep and poison more than once, which I think would have probably just combusted the entire metagame if that was in any way official. Or how about the stat boosting items that just give you a stat boost as you hit the field, no string attached. And my personal favorite, the skateboard. Oh, you gotta understand, I was a 2000s kid. Surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding were just the epitome of cool. And I low-key was mad I never got into them. Well, okay, not so much skateboarding, but like living in Hawaii and doing these two was just like a dream for me for a long time. Power Rangers and Disney movies made child Chubby so jealous. Though, sadly, adult Chubby is now fully aware of the situation such propaganda has left on the region of Hawaii and how its tourism is nothing more than a cancer on its people and land. God, screw you, Johnny Tsunami and Power Rangers, you were all filmed in New Zealand anyway. Also, side note, please make a third Johnny Tsunami movie. I mean, that would make me so happy. And not because it'll be any good, but mostly because I'm just dying to see him go lower than freaking dirt boarding. Like, oh God, just get a bike, you poser. Chris! The two new typings, Steel and Dark, work way differently from what we know. Because Steel is like weak to water and electric, which kind of makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Like, maybe not water, you know, outside of like rusting, but Steel being like a fantastic conductor and they just never do anything with electric just never makes any sense to me. Like, I wouldn't care who would be super effective to who, but at least give us like a reaction of some sort. And then Dark is super effective to Dark, kind of like Ghost, which is odd, and Normal is immune to Dark and super effective against it, which I love, because using normal types in this game is like just crazy overpowered. Like, I understand that Normal is supposed to be neutral and not do anything too crazy like the other types, but having it be like this light that shines through the darkness is cool, and it made a lot of Pokemon people would see as fodder way more useful in a Dark type heavy metagame. Admittedly, Psychic and Fairy have the light thing kind of covered, but I wish Normal could just be a little bit more than just that, because it's hard to go back to it not being the best type in the game. Though story-wise is where things get a lot different. So, starting things off in a town called Silent Hill. No, hi puppy. No. Our character wakes up from a little nap and is met with an email from the prestigious Professor Oak, who wants him to come to this new lab in Silent Hill. No, so that he can give us a starter Pokemon. So our character heads out, but not before saying hi to Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Barbie.
Then heading out the door, only to be met with our rival, who questions what we call her mom. Yeah, definitely not gonna regret that later. Well, whatever you call your mom, he just laughs and runs off, saying that he was chosen by Oak as well. So, like in the last games, instead of finding the old ass in the lab, we instead head to some nearby tall grass. And just like clockwork, we're stopped by... Blue? Yeah, Blue's here, taking on a role like that of Oak as our mentor for this venture. The old man is still at it, don't worry, but I'm almost a little sad that the Professor Oak the letter mentioned wasn't just Blue Oak. I mean, how fun would that have been? We get a few torch passes in this story already, so this one could have been a lot of fun. We meet the old timer and he gives us a starter Pokemon in exchange for us going around filling the Pokedex with the other 100-something Mons we didn't see last time. Of course, a lot of these Pokemon being the betas of Mons that we know well today, and some that never got to see the light of day. Case in point, two of the starters, Coburn and Palseo. Two awesome starter lines that never got to see the light of day, and Chikorita. No shade, I'm still in your corner, baby girl. You can't fix perfection, though you all are dying for a secondary type. Also, what is that? Like I like Chicky, but like for real, what was the thought process of going Sauropod to Fairy to Sauropod? Like, are you Digimon or something? Though a dinosaur Lilamon for Meganium's Mega would go crazy hard. What would that stone even be called? The Mega Knight? Well, after picking the starter, we head out on our usual ventures, seeing plenty of Betamons like all the cut babies, the scrapped, and the remix Evos, and some dudes who are dying for a comeback. God bless, was I sick when I wrote this? This is like the 4th time I've said that line. And, not to mention, all the cool beta trainer designs. We have the beautiful teachers, the fishermen with their cigarettes, finally, and of course, just a freaking soldier. Like, okay, you guys are gonna actually have to reveal what that war was one day, because we are clearly pretty close time-wise to the Pokéworld War, and I think that would be a crazy side game. Not Yukon Quest. Well, actually, yes, Yukon Quest, but like Advanced War? Oh, a Torterra tank would be so cool. On our ventures, we meet plenty of familiar faces, like the many gym leaders, plot points, and locales like Bell Tower and Whirl Islands, though obviously more mixed around than how we know them. For instance, we actually get a lot of time with the gym leaders in this version, like how we meet Price in Ice Cave, and then we get to meet his family, and he teaches us a lesson about how we should spend our time with the people we care about. And I actually like a lot of these guys more as characters than their release versions. Like, Whitney in this version isn't a crybaby, she's more like a folk hero, and we actually get to team up on a few occasions to help save a child from a mine shaft and fight the rockets in the aquarium. And then we got Bugsy, which takes her place in the big city with his magician-esque attire and love of bugs, really contrasting the rest of the place really well. And then this guy, Okira, the new dark type 7th gym leader. He would honestly be one of my favorites if he ever made it to the main series. The man is this young school delinquent archetype, think Part 3 Jotaro. He acts all tough and mean and shit, but on the inside he's just really nice and caring. He takes good care of his town and he jumps right into action with the player to take on the Rockets. The Rockets, back again to mess stuff up and try to sell some slowpoke tails. Yeah, their plot's basically the same as the original, with just some locales and some other things mixed around. Yarg! Archer be back at me, matey, and he is also a pirate this time, yarg! Or maybe he's not actually a pirate, but he is like a ship captain, and his name is close enough to Archie, so I kind of imagine this way. But Archer isn't alone, as he has the imposter Oak by his side. Yeah, that one from the cards. I don't know, where'd you think they got that idea from? Imposter Oak is kind of hilarious because he just kind of uses the Kanto starters and the new steel type Ditto Evo called Me Too, which is, that's actually really funny. I like that a lot. Especially because in post-game, he's just kind of depressed on the islands after the Rockets kick him out, due to Sigma's little destruction on the radio tower, which, hey, good on our rival for actually using a Pokemon outside of battle for something. I'm not going to count Lance's brutality. Though this time their plans aren't actually headed up by Archer or even Imposter Oak. No, instead they're headed up by a returning Giovanni. Yeah, I hate it. For the exact same reasons as I hate how Heart Gold and Soul Silver brought him back. Having him return to the villains is literally the most boring thing you could do with his character. And it's so weird that they literally also do the best thing you can do with this character not too long after this. Also, he threatens our brother Kid after he's busted his balls for his own radio show, so this mafioso is going right back to the slaughterhouse, you son of a... Oh my god, part 5 music literally came on while I was writing. You can't get better timing than that. After taking the Rockets down again, the player moves on to the final city of the game, Kanto! Yeah, it's seen better days. Like the rest of Japan, this part had to get shrunken to save on space, which makes it so odd that the events of the last game kind of just took place in a cul-de-sac sized area. Ugh. I can see why they felt the shame of this when they got to the release version, though a little correction to my original version, Satoru Iwata, as amazing as he was, actually didn't reprogram the Johto games to fit the entire Kanto region into the cartridge. That was already in the game before he got a hold of it. Instead, he reprogrammed the game to run faster, which actually decreased the amount of cartridge space they have. He's still the GOAT though, if we're being completely honest, he's still the best, I'm just trying to, like, speak truth on here, like, be honest. It's the facts and whatever. I don't know. That's a really common misconception. I felt like I should clear it up. Though, on the topic of the different regions of Japan, the way they're represented in this game is cramped, but also really interesting. Especially when we now, nowadays have full games based on these different regions. It's fun to see Johto just be a town with a tower, and Hoenn be a set of islands with palm trees and a volcano, and Sinnoh be a snowy wonderland with a dragon clan and Whirl Islands being nearby. Oh, yeah, good old Claire is back, but like everyone else in this version, she's way more chill, and actually not a problem. But wait, if she's here, then who's the final gym leader in Kanto? Well, after trekking through Victory Road once again, which feels like a bit much for one gym, we meet the leader, good old Red. Glad to see his quiet ass is still doing what he does best. And he even turned the entire Indigo Plateau, or I guess Indigo Front Lawn, into his battleground. I love how him and Blue both technically got to be the final gym leaders of Kanto with a multi-type theme. How uniquely boring for these two turds. I do like Red in this role, however. Him being the final challenge before the real Victory Road and champion is fun. I like it. Though it was odd that he wasn't the main man in charge of it all. Though, don't worry, as we'll be meeting him soon enough. As we loop around the region back to our hometown in Silent Hill. No. Hey, Sigma. No. Ow! I actually did slap myself. What the f did I do that for? I mean, yes, the pathway to the championship is right here in our hometown. As we get checked by the guards, we tackle the real Victory Road. Mount Fuji. Yeah, the whole ass mountain is like the final challenge before the league. How cool is that? Though once we get there, we see some familiar faces, like Will, Koga, and Agatha. Though having both Koga and Agatha kind of feels a bit redundant, considering they both use predominantly poison Pokemon. But we also get some newcomers, like Misty's here to challenge the player in the place of Lance. And honestly, good for her. She doesn't have an amazing redesign like the release version, but I still like seeing her in this role. I think it suits her, not to mention she's a fan favorite. But if you're playing the Reforged version, you don't just get Misty, you get Giovanni as well. And this right here is exactly what his character should be doing. Don't know why he's on the league if he's still a mob boss and was beaten by a kid with only 7 badges, but he's here and I really like him in some sort of prestigious position that's based around his skills as a trainer, the skills that Red taught him to pursue after their climactic battle. Though this does kind of spit in the face of that by making him still a remorseless asshole. Love the remaster rule. Y'all did a great job, the redone Kanto and the actually good Savari Zone, chef's kiss, mwah. But Geo being on the league and a known crook who tried to take over the region is a bit too ridiculous to be true. Oh my god, as an American, I can make a really funny joke right now, but I know somebody would just bitch and moan about it in the comments, so I'm gonna have to move on. Anyways, the champion. It's Lance. Yeah, same old with this guy. You know what you're getting into. But yeah, that's basically the plot. And everything is really similar to the release version of Gold and Silver, which I think is pretty interesting. Except Daddy Chuck isn't here, and man, I kind of miss him. From a plot perspective, this is actually kind of better, as Archer and crew actually have a decent plan with the radio tower, and we even have like a zoo full of Pokemon showing that their stuff is working, and can be a genuine threat outside of evolving a few Magikarp. Plus, he doesn't do this really dumb anti-Dear John letter. Yarg, Giovanni, come back! Yarg, it was all for you. I was blind. And a James parallel too. Are you really gonna fall for this? I don't know. I mean, this effort is kind of impressive. He's not even on key. Yeah, tell him. Though you're probably wondering how Sigma here. Hey guys, Sigma here. Hey guys, Sigma here. Ready to grind? It's fucking stupid. It's so stupid. How Sigma here feels about Giovanni being the Rocket boss again. He doesn't. You know, remember, they didn't really clarify that he was Gio's son till like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and technically before that with the Fire Red and Leaf Green manga. Sigma here has nothing to do with the Rockets. He honestly just doesn't have any skin in the game, like, whatsoever. Like, I mean, at least we have kin. And in fact, and this is going to tank all my credibility, I actually prefer the silver we got in the release game, counting the added Giovanni lore. This guy here, I can't get out of my head. Get out of my head. This guy here has literally no personality. He's literally the worst kind of rival. The friendly kind. Now, remember, in the Johto video, I clarified that Silver was pretty much the only jerk rival till the modern games. And I want to make clear, I'm not talking about the friendly rivals that are just nice to the player, but still have their own arcs and stuff going on. I mean the friendly rivals. The guy who shows up, and that's about it. Not an ounce of character coming from this guy. And I don't blame the ROM hackers or even GameFreak for this. I bet his writing was probably going to be far more like Blue or someone similar. I mean, he does a few things that I think are really interesting, like the aforementioned using his Pokemon in the overworld, and there's a moment where he asks the route guide if they're allowed to battle in the gate, kind of like Bianca does in Black and White, which was fun. I love getting to see the origins for certain ideas that come later. And then in the post game, he goes to the woods to train. I don't know. This guy was just kind of doing stuff, but I like him. I don't like him. I don't know. I feel indifference. If we're being completely honest, I just feel indifferent, which is like the worst feeling to have. Hey guys, Sigma here. That's not getting out of my head. But speaking of like the whole Sigma thing, stop putting wolves on that stupid posts, guys. You know, the guy who wrote the whole Alpha and Omega crap, you know, spent the rest of his life disproving it, but the idea was much more remarkable than the truth. So much so that people just started doing like their fanfics with their own statuses. Like, oh my god, that sucks. That just sucks. But you know what doesn't suck? The cool custom post game. But that kind of goes a bit past the purposes for this video, so instead, I'll just let y'all experience that on your own. It's a fun time. But what about Tajiri's Gold and Silver? Could it have stand on its own like the release Masuda version? Honestly? Yeah, probably. I think Tajiri's Gen 2 is a good time, though if we're being honest, I do see why they were so down to change things. For one, you know for a fact that there'll be more games after this, so blowing the whole country of Japan in one move probably ain't the play. And two, the game is cramped, and if you feel like you're better off using that space to flesh out 2 regions instead of like 5 to 6, you probably are. Having Masuda completely rebuild Johto was the right move, though it still has some stretch marks, but you know, no shade, because I got plenty myself. But what I mean is, Johto feels like it's lacking a lot of things, and in truth, it does. A lot of it was cut from it, including whole biomes and Pokemon, but I'm satisfied with the Johto we got. There's a reason this game's development is as researched and as obsessed over as it is. There's plenty of gold in them there Silver Hills. Plenty of cool ideas and interesting changes that give us a look at one of the most successful companies in the world's development process. The region of Nihon may be gone in GameFreak's eyes, but I doubt it will leave ours anytime soon, and I'm glad for it. Especially if GameFreak has the confidence to pull some of these ideas from it. I'm not saying a game with like all 4 regions or something, but at least let Turban get back in there. I mean, just come on. For the teams this time around, I really wanted to emphasize the beta Pokemon. For my Gold 97 team, we start out with Smokey the Brunus, This fire-type bear is essentially Typhlosion with dark moves added onto its move list, yet still lacking a secondary typing, which is sad. Either dark or ground would have fit him wonderfully. Named after the famous firefighting mascot, not you guys, Smokey was a key player in much of the playthrough as his abilities to use moves like Crunch, Earthquake, and Flamethrower just swept everything. And my oh my do I wish this set of adorable bears got their representation in the main series, especially that mid-stage. But I guess we sort of did get their revision in the Teddy Ursa line, even gaining that ground type evolution in the latest games. So I guess they didn't completely drop the ball. Plus Cyndaquil is so cute, so I guess I understand the replacement. I'm just not fully on board. Noctowl was a fun little addition to the team and his beta look was so cool. But man, was that moveset just absolute trash for the poor thing. Just like in the main games, it just doesn't work well in the typing it received. A special attacker with mainly physical moves, and status coverage that's much better on other mons? I get not everyone can be top tier, but some Pokemon are left out to dry while others are drowning in goodness, and I really hate that. Noctowl deserves better than me, cause when I played this, I had the beta Farfetch Evo on my team. And I need her broken power set. Move out of the way, Surfetch, cause Luxwan, the OG Farfetch Evo, does it all plus more. I already told y'all how broken normal can be in Beta Gen 2, and this 90 base power, 85 speed Demon of Beauty may not look it, but it was truly wildly powerful. Especially with the stick item boosting its crit rate like its pre-evo, Madame Ding did nothing but take names and heads with her powerful slash attack, and it truly is terrible that this thing exists because Surfetch will never live up to it. Farfetch'd was always good, but it just needed a push to become all powerful, and this is it. The elegant aura this thing gives off as it crits 9 out of 10 times a battle is just too much to comprehend. I love it. Not Shelter the Turban. I guess I've hyped it up enough lore-wise, so let's focus on the stats. This thing is built like a shithouse rat, aka it's tough. The defense on this thing is damn near impenetrable, especially if you play Reforged where it's got this disgusting water poison type. Ooh, Arceus. Now in 97 it's water ground, which is good, don't get me wrong, stab earthquake and all that. Disturbin, or just Turban depending on the game, is amazingly powerful and a must pick for any team in my opinion. Diana the Tricules, named after the famous daughter of Zeus to play off as inspiration from the Heracles beetle. The original Pinsir Evo / Heracross was the perfect bug steel counterpart for Scizor, though I can kinda see why they didn't want to double / triple up on that typing for the release version. But still, killing the Pinsir Evo for Heracross is a little sad, since he's not really Scyther's rival anymore. Though I guess he does at least get Heracross now, which does work better thematically as a callback to Pokemon's inspiration. So, it ain't all bad. And that's what I have to say for this Pokemon. It's basically a harder hitting Scizor with a better moveset, though it does balance that with a cut to speed, which wasn't Scizor's strong suit anyway. Which, hey, maybe that's why this Pokemon was cut. It was just too powerful and it ruled the bug world, so it had to be split in two to save it. Still would have liked to see like a regional variation or Evo or Pinsir, or maybe like a Convergent Evo or Paradise. I don't know, I just think it'd be really fun to bring this back. Roots the Leafeon, Psychic, Poison, Grass, is not as strong a trio as Fire, Water, Electric, and that may be why they decided to cut Leafeon, as well as it seemingly having the Celebi role till they added Celebi. Leafeon here is as strong as we get to know it in Gen 4. It may not be the fan favorite Eevee, but it's a reliable special attacker that will do the job better than most other grass types. And Leafeon will always be second in my Eevee tier list. Who's first? Oh, Flareon, obviously. What? Hey, stop booing me. You know what? I'll explain it later. We'll go over an Ori video. Just leave me alone, okay? I love Flareon. Also, does anyone else think this looks like a Webkins or something? Claudine the Whirlikin. Yes, it's a Monster High reference. Me and my dad watched the Nick movie a while back, and I just thought she was cool. Plus, werewolves have always had a special place in my heart as a mythical monster. Claudine was broken. This was basically Sneasel, but like no drawbacks. Good mixed attacker with some good bulk and some speed. It's got Earthquake and Stab, Ice Beam, and Crunch. Oh, this thing was too powerful. It had to be nerfed by fusing it with that little weasel. For Silver Reforged, we get all the fan favorite betas with brand new sprites to help modernize them. Starting with Missile the Cruise, which, 1, 2, Cruise is the best starter name of all time. But for my team in Reforged, we had a weapon naming theme, and Missile was definitely deadly. A bulky water dinosaur that would have gave Lapras a real run for its money if they had just allowed it that ice typing. Oh, say the line, Chubby. Yeah, I wish it had a secondary typing. But really, ice or dragon, it would have been so easy, just Gatling the Chicks was so cute. I love this little baby bird. Oh my god, it swept Lance in the postgame. Oh boy. Swords Dance, Tri-Beam, Jump Kick, Fly. Gatling was just way too much. What an amazing name for you, cause like the gun in question, you just mowed everyone down one by one. It was like they were in a single file line right in front of your ever-revolving power. God, I love you, Gatling. Shield the Ladian. Look, I kind of wanted to go for Scyther, but the more I thought of it, the less it made sense for me to use it. And when I picked up Shield, I wasn't really sure what to think. You know, I was disappointed in myself for replacing Noctowl, though I admit Madame deserved the screen time as it was a cut Betamon. Plus, I watched this one guy's video about using weaker Pokemon you like to win, which is my philosophy to a T, so I really hated to swap someone out again, you know? But lucky for me, I jived a lot better with Beta Ladian than I did Beta Noctowl. Especially because this thing has way better stats than the release Ladian. The lack of the Voltman reference is odd, but in every other way this thing is better. And the green to red makes sense if we're referring to the Ladybug life cycle. Having it hit with powerful physical moves and being bulky enough to survive and then stack that with Reflect and Light Screen, not to mention Supersonic and Counter to beat off, defensive typings. I love this cutie patootie. I love them so much. Gapora the Belladam, named after the true form of Dance Battle. I really wish this Evo was one of the ones that survived the culling. I said Turban was my pick to come back if I had to pick one, but that was low-key a lie. Like, I imagine that Belladam dances like Blossom, but it's way more erratic, like they're at a punk rock concert or something. I've had this convergent design like for a while now in my head, and I got one for Whirlican too. I might need to do a video with all this or something later, because I genuinely love this Pokemon, even though it's like basically Victory Bell again, but also way better. Good lord. John Chain, a nickname that took me way too long to come up with, is an Asgore named after my actual favorite weapon like ever. This water steel type was an amazing special attacker with all kinds of powerful attacks and a top tier Pokemon design. I know I say this a lot, but I really wish this was real. Sadly, the only thing holding this thing back is... The Althought Octillery was wild, but at least the beta made it more thematic. This shit is just weird. And what about these two even scream steel type? I used an Everstone and it was just fine to battle with, so yeah. I do wish this was real though. I really like this Pokemon. And you know what? Just go ahead and add all of that to all of these Pokemon, if we're being honest. I liked all of them. Molotov the Bomb Seal. Firewater Seal Pokemon. God, do I even need to say it? But what I can say is it's sad how long it takes for it to be available to the player. I low-key wanted to use Beta Entei, and I was so sad I had to choose between these two amazing fire types. And like, I genuinely prefer this goofy-looking dog, Fire Legend. It's so cute. But man, when I saw its sprite in Reforged, it's not bad, but my god, it looks like a hot wiener mascot, and I just couldn't do it. I guess, thank you for making it easier for me to choose Molotov. I guess they were amazing. Also, did you know that the sideburns on Entei are its ears? Like, without the mask, it's supposed to be like this just big, doofy dog, and that's really, really cute. I really wish it didn't have that stupid mask, because it would be way better without it. I finally understand, Xander. If you watch this video, I finally get it. Ultimately, both the teams I used for this bonus retrospective were amazing, and so was Beta Gold and Silver as a whole. Special thanks to Level 3 and Rule for their amazing version of Tajiri's Johto. I won't add this to the tier list, mostly because Sigma would be Z tier, but let's just say I'd put them on par with released Johto and just leave it there. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time for something. I'm not fully sure yet.